How's everyone doing tonight? I'm back again, or as Queen Amadou Chigua says, black again. But I got a very special guest with me, one who was there on the ground when Ferguson was hijacked in respect of the group we call today Black Lives Matter. Um, I remember seeing this lady's Queen Nyota Uhura 4 years ago. She was on the Advice show, Philip Scott, in about 2017, and um, I finally decided to reach out to her last year or one other time. I forgot when it was, but I remember that interview, how she broke down Black Lives Matter and how much of a fraud they were and everything like that. And when you know that something's wrong, you reach out to the people and you see if they respond back. And she responded back and gave me a wonderful brother named CJ Sullivan the interview, and now it's her turn. And with that being said, let's bring in the room. Hey, how are you?
Thanks for having me. It's
Yes, I
been,
was. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, I was just
No,
going
I
to
will
say
let
it's
you
been
go
a
ahead and
long
introduce yourself.
time. It's been a long
Yeah,
time.
it's been a long time,
Yeah.
and I was explaining how I came across you 4 years ago on Phil Scott, the Advice show, when you
Mm-hmm.
were breaking down the farce known as Black Lives Matter, the
Yes,
farce.
way back when. Actually, that
And
was, I think that was 2016. And that
mm,
interview, it came out a week before Darren was murdered. And actually, it was one of the last things he tweeted.
yeah, um,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Darren King D. Seals for his efforts. I wish he was here with us today, but speaking out on the side of truth has consequences, and we
Mm-hmm.
learned that. But I'm kind of glad that you're still around to at least keep his memory alive and tell the story. Okay, so can you explain who you are? You got um, you got altblacknews.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Altblacknews.com. So everybody in the chat, go to altblacknews.com. And you got another website. Is it Hands Up Don't Shoot?
Yes. Actually, that one's we're in the process of revamping it because so much information is coming out. A lot of the things that Darren and I were saying, back in 2016, now people see. It's just unfortunate that it took, another, 5 years?
Yep. 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 Well, okay. Somebody asked, could you ask this sister if she and her organization are affiliated with Tef Poe there in the St. Louis Ferguson area?
No, I'm not affiliated with. I think I think they're thinking Hands Up United.
Okay.
That was Tefpo and Tori Russell, and some other people. But no, I know Tefpo. I've known Tefpo for years. I remember when he was a young guy coming up in the hip hop scene.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I got you. I didn't know who Tef. I know who Tori Russell is, but I didn't know who Tef Poe
Hmm.
was.
Hmm.
But so it's we got a lot to explain and a lot of sheets to be uncovered, as they would say, and a lot of exposing. And
Hey.
hopefully, I know you keep everything in archive because you repost everything anyway. So this won't be for naught because it's a guy named Dustin. What's his name? Mustin. Whatever. He donated $5 million to Patrisse Cullors' campaign, but
Hmm.
for, but then he's also a co-founder of Facebook and helping to censor information as well.
Yes, and Facebook, man, they're always messing with my profiles and pages, like they
Mhm.
are. I'm being shadow banned. I mean, they've been doing this a long time though, and I remember when people were, uh, calling us crazy, conspiracy theorists. They just refuse to believe these types of things happen. But I saw this with social media back during Ferguson, when they were working with the police using the hashtags to like trace protesters.
Yep.
Yeah.
I, well, so like I had CJ here, and you were on the ground in
Mm-hmm.
Ferguson. I want you to, you're gonna have to explain it from the top because well, first of all, you gotta explain St. Louis, Missouri from the top because me and you always text or something, and we always say St. Louis is one of the most violent cities of childhood murders.
It
Also,
is.
you have a black mayor that was just elected yesterday, or not yesterday, but recently.
Mm-hmm.
His name is his
Tashara
name?
Jones.
Yeah.
Tashara Jones.
Are you? I mean, and from the word I'm hearing in St. Louis, a lot of people are not happy about her. They say she's Black Girl Magic certified again.
I mean, what people have to remember, and it's not even just her, it's all of them, whether they identify as progressives, establishment Democrats, or even Marxists, as we can see. They're all Democrats at the end of the day. Okay, they're all Democrats. The same way they're all cops. At the end of the day, they're all Democrats. So they have an agenda. They may uh, dress it up differently, depending on who they're trying to target or even deceive. But I mean, the game plan is always do what's best for the Democrats.
Gotcha. Um, so explain the city of St. Louis yourself and the BLM farce
I
first.
mean, St. Louis, people should be very familiar with St. Louis for like the past 20 years. It's been one of the most violent, most deadly. We're always in the top, probably three, if not number one, of the murder capitals. We were just named number one in child murders. It's a city that, I mean, it's just it's dying. It's rotting. From the inside. All of this is self inflicted. It's just a situation where uh, not just systemic racism, but I mean also just blatant, just racism. There are like literal like divides. The Delmar divide. People can Google that, and it just shows. It's a line that outlines the disparity. Like on one side, it's north of Delmar is very poor, and south of Delmar, is affluent. So you just have, I mean, and race is everything here. I mean, everything is race, but at the same time, you have to understand that everything here is Democrat. Democrats run and control St. Louis. As they do most urban areas, and you will notice all the issues that we're fighting in these urban areas. Democrats control them. I mean, even down to the police. And we vote Democrat, and yet we're still out in the streets.
Yeah,
And we do this time and time again. Expecting different results.
yeah, I understand that. Come to think about it, I'm glad you said that because this guy Jay Bag says, but the Republicans run the state, right? Yeah, they do,
Yeah,
but
but neither of them are our friends. We know Republicans are not our friends. We don't vote for Republicans. So, I mean, do you really expect something from people you don't vote for? You know,
well,
I mean, this whole vote for them and then hold them accountable. Like, I'm not gonna vote for you and then have to chase you to keep your word. You're just not getting voted in. It's that simple.
well,
But man, we can't rely on the vote anyway. You know what I'm saying? That's just really,
Where you learn that.
Symbolism. Yeah.
Hey, look. Well, look, you learn that in this election because I'm gonna tell you one thing. There
Oh
was a whole
yeah.
lot of black folks that didn't vote, and they just replaced your votes with illegal immigrants this time.
Yeah,
So,
that's yeah.
and we can go over documentation, and I can assure you, at the end of the day, 50,000 times over, that the puppet sitting in the White House is a selected puppet, and he won't elected by the people. I can tell you that right now.
They fortified the vote.
That's right.
Isn't that what they called it?
Hey, Joe Biden told you on October 24th, we have created the greatest voter fraud organization in history of American politics.
You know, I posted that on
And they took it
Facebook,
down.
and they fact checked me and said that it was missing context. So what are they saying? They get to subscribe the context, you know, that his words have. You know what
Yep,
I'm saying? For me,
yep,
come on, it's insane.
yep.
You know, but they
Right.
do that, and they
Yeah.
all of my pages have limits on them because of that, because I posted that.
Okay, a guy asked me, why is it that we are continue to chasing Democrats?
Because that's what we've been conditioned to do. You know, we don't think outside of that. You know, it's amazing to me, all of these people who claim to be pro black, but they think black people can't do anything. You know, we're holding ourselves back. We're not losing because they're so great or they can't be defeated. We're losing because we're just laying down.
Yep. Okay. Now, okay, so growing up in St. Louis, and Ferguson is outside of St. Louis, correct?
I mean, it's in St. Louis County, but this is all St. Louis. I
Okay.
mean, you have the city and the county, but I mean, you have invisible barriers. I mean, you just drive. You know, you can drive from downtown to the airport and go through probably 12 municipalities.
Okay. So explain to me the I know we had the thing a couple weeks ago with the jail that happened with the fire because you got okay. This edict says Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Gars, and Opel Tomati. Where's the $90 million made off the dead bodies of black men, women, and children? I think you know where it's
It's
going,
way
brother.
more than 90 million. It's way more than 90 million. If you notice, she's very word specific, you know, in her whole response. You know, 90 million for what was that last year? You know,
Yeah.
when they came to Ferguson in 2014. There was no Black Lives Matter Global Network back then, but they were soliciting funds. They were getting broke off. You know, they had pledges, you know, from corporations and for nonprofits for like tens of millions, some even $100+ million. You know, and then they rebranded themselves and launched the movement for Black Lives. And they got a lot of money, a lot of donations, and a lot of pledges from corporations and large nonprofits. You know, and this is a time that preceded Black Lives Matter Global Network. So, what were they before? What happened to the money before that? In 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. Okay?
Um, just say Opel is MIA. We never hear from her, but Alicia left BLM and formed the Black Futures Lab organization. So the only one in the members you can target is Colors. They
Well,
think they
they
switch.
were all part of it, you know. They all take credit for being founders.
Yeah, I never heard a lot from Opel. I know who she is, but I never heard a lot from her. Um, but I do know about Gaza and Colors because they're the two most prominent ones.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of matter of fact, I just want to bring something to people. You know, she had an interview last week with Mark Lamont Hill, and she
Mm-hmm.
started crying, and she said she only made a salary of $151,000 a professor, and you know. that it's right wing people that's coming after her. I said, no, no, no. These are black grassroots coming after you. Now they won't know what to do with his money.
Yes.
But she always
And
throws out that it's the right wing attacking me and it's very dangerous.
I mean, what else is she gonna say? What else can she say?
Well, I got you. Well,
She has to
you've
say
met Miss
something
Patrice.
or show the receipts.
Well, you met Miss Patrisse, so I'm gonna sit back and let you explain how everything that happened with Mike Brown. If anybody got some questions, I'll say hold on and let them. I'll put it their comment on the screen and maybe you can read it back. But yeah, I want you to explain Mike Brown, um, Patrisse Cullors, Brittany Packney Cunningham, D. Ray McKesson. You know
Well,
that.
it's so many of them.
Yeah, I
You
know, but I
know,
want some of the names that's really been out there talking on the crap. And then we
um
gotta get on King D Seals too, because that's the cherry on the top.
well, when they came here, they didn't come as Black Lives Matter. Okay. Uh, no one heard anything about Black Lives Matter, I think, until uh, after Eric Gardner, after they went to New York. But let me backtrack. They came here as freedom fighters, like they were coming to help us, to help organize. That's how it was presented to people, other than the select few, that were in on uh, just how they were going to hijack this. I mean, there were things happening the first night. The first night I was out standing outside the Ferguson Police Department, and uh, some people came to me. They already decided who were going to go in and be leaders and just position themselves. And I had a problem with that. I had many problems because no one knew what was going on. The family wasn't there. How are you just going to walk in there without the family? You don't know who they have to represent them, and I mean, what really gives you the right? But I didn't know everyone that was in that group, and I just wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to be part of that, so I declined. And just from that moment on, I became movement critic. I mean, just public enemy number one. Like, I was one of the people when they came here that they had to try to get on their side. And they tried to get me.
Hear me? You hear me? Hold on. What happened? Them knocked you off.
Tonight.
I couldn't hear you. You just skipped out for a minute.
Something happened. Okay, I can see you now
Okay, go
and hear
ahead.
you. Yeah, locked up. What was I saying?
You were saying you didn't want to be a part of what happened at whatever that night, and you
Yeah,
became
I
public
didn't I
enemy.
didn't I didn't want to be, part of that. And just from that point, I was viewed as the opposition, because they already had the game plan. Once they saw that things were developing, um, they were already positioning people. If you go back, there's an article I think that's in the Nation where they were already talking about certain people, and they were among the ones who got elevated and became like the prominent Ferguson protesters.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, in the Mike Brown situation, I know after the Mike Brown situation, maybe about November that year, you had Obama come there and give them some money and made talk to them, and Eric Holder came there to meet with them, and Benita Gupta and certain other individuals.
A lot of individuals came here, and the prominent protesters, they traveled. I mean, they took them on tour just to sell this whole illusion, that Ferguson was still grassroots. I mean, when Black Lives Matter came in, they saw no action here. A lot of people don't know that they were only here for, I believe it was 3 days. Um, they never led anything. You won't find any photos or videos of them leading us. What you will find um, are video clips and media reports, them jumping in front of the cameras, saying that they started this, that they were organizing us, and they were the leaders.
Yep. So what about that night? What about that night when picture with Darren Seals looked like it was Alexis Templeton on a bullhorn and Darren Seals is in the back. That was one of the night. That was one of the 3 nights, right?
One of the 3 nights when Black Lives Matter was there?
Yeah,
No.
because you did have there is a photo out there that night with Alexis Templeton on a bullhorn and a bunch of white people with someone with communist flags in the back. That was
Yeah,
in.
there were people there, but when Black Lives Matter, when the founders came here, they didn't
Okay,
see any action. No.
okay, got you. Because it was a part on that interview where you had with Phil
Mm-hmm.
Scott where you
Mm-hmm.
said that I think it was you and Darren and the people in the front that really got the fighting or protest tear gassed and got met with military equipment
Yeah, yeah. We
were
were
really
out there.
you. That was you. But
Yeah,
the
I
people
got.
like D-Ray and the other people
Mm-hmm.
were not in the protest getting tear gassed and
No, no,
military.
they were on Twitter. Okay, they were on Facebook. They were tweeting and posting about what we were doing. Okay, they were coming up with hashtags, and creating little social media armies.
Gotcha.
That's what they were doing.
Gotcha. Um, Now with the Mike Brown situation, since you were right there, you met Michael Brown's family and probably more, and they used him as kind of a pawn to launch their agenda.
Yes, it's
Gotcha,
they tried it in Orlando with Trayvon. They just couldn't get the traction.
gotcha. Because they started out at Occupy Wall Street. They really tried to kick it off at Occupy Wall Street, then they transformed it into Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, they jump from issue to issue. It's wherever the nonprofits, whatever they want to focus on, whatever their issue is, that's where they're going to put the money, and that's where they're going to go.
Gotcha. Um, Now when when you met Patrisse Cullors in I guess Gaza, right?
Um, I met Patrisse with what's the sister that was the editor of Ebony?
Um,
What's her name? Jamila LaRue or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I met her and what's the brother's name? I want to say Antonio,
more.
maybe more. Yeah. I met them when they came to Ferguson. Um, at St. Mark's Church. And it was interesting because there were so many people coming in and out. There were people dropping off food and supplies. So you really didn't know, like at that point, where people were coming from, because we had people that were coming from just all over the world. And then we had people here, that were coming out. And St. Louis is the type of place where, I mean, I never thought I would see just the outpour like that of just everybody. People came together in ways that I don't think anyone thought was possible.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting. So now there's a certain woman in Congress named Cori Bush that was also there too. She's in Congress
Mm-hmm.
now, running off the backs of Black Lives Matter. So she riding the wave too.
I mean, Democrats, Black Lives Matter. I mean, Barack Obama invited them to the White House.
Yep.
And what did we get out of that? You know, Blue Lives Matter legislation. You know, so at the end of the day,
There's
they all.
militarized police departments.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's
and the
militarized police department?
CBC, they voted for that. The CBC voted
Yeah.
to militarize police departments.
You want to know something? The CBC also had a hand in this anti-Asian hate crime legislation they passed today too.
Of course.
So yeah, they passed that today with a 94-1 vote.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but the Congressional Black Caucus did vote for that militarization of police blue alert law, and that was not met with no heavy opposition on either side of the aisle. It wasn't a close vote. They love to get in police officers military equipment.
Yes.
Um, now, now about getting to the D. Ray McKesson's, because D. Ray is an interesting guy who worked for Teach for America along with Brittany Packnett. D. Ray went on to run for mayor of Baltimore. He
Hmm.
didn't only got like 2% of the vote. But D. Ray McKesson was not from Ferguson, correct? I don't know, he might drop that again. I don't know. This thing keep on. They might not like this conversation, but that's okay. We gotta keep this thing going. Gotta learn a lot. So come on. Yeah. Wow. I don't know what's going on here today. Can you hear me? I had to go to another secure site. Wow. Damn. She dropped out. Come on back in. Well, anyway, she's breaking down a lot of stuff, so I'll probably be on for a while because I'm trying to just break this thing down, start from the top with this thing. So hope she gets come back on. She's got a lot of information. Um, yeah, he's from B-More. I know he's from B-More. He's with Teach for America. Him and Brittany Packnett, Cunningham, and others. Um, yeah, that's who he is. He's also LGBTQ. So go figure that one out. Um, oh, damn it. She was in. Come back in. You back.
Wow,
Okay.
can you hear me? Yeah.
Hey, look, I don't know. But anyway, I was getting to D. Ray McKesson, right?
Hmm.
And D. Ray and Brittany Packnett Cunningham from Teach for America, but D. Ray is from Baltimore, and he ran for mayor, only got 2.5% of the vote.
Hmm.
So D. Ray went on to be at the Glad Gala where he talked about his life as a gay man and so forth and so on. But
Hmm.
I don't know. D. Ray was met with a lot of opposition in Ferguson, including by King D. Seals when King D. Seals, gave him a little smack. Let's put it like, you know,
Yes.
were you there when it happened?
No, I wasn't there when it happened, but we spoke about it afterwards. Um, Darren, that was him. You know, he was the heart and soul of our movement. Very confrontational. Um, but in righteousness, what people don't understand is there's more to this than just uh, performance. A lot of people get caught up in the performance, in the symbolism, uh, first blacks, and things like that. And what happens is people are so caught up in the superficial, but there's a lot of, while ignoring just the very real, that's happening while this is going on. Like, I'm trying to think of a way I can phrase this. I don't know, man. It's like BLM is just so this romanticized view of what the struggle is, and people are caught up in that. We have people trying to create brands, off the struggle.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? You're exactly right, because the other day, after the trial was over, Nancy Pelosi sat right there with the Congressional Black Caucus and actually said, "Thank you, George, for sacrificing your life for justice. No,
Yeah.
thank you, George, for sacrificing your life for an agenda."
Mm-hmm.
That's what that's about. That's an agenda they're trying to push.
Yeah, it's an agenda. They're trying to uh, present this image of change, like police reform. Like things are happening. You had one officer, that got convicted. Out of how many just since Ferguson. We're not going to end police brutality one conviction at a time.
Well, okay, this brother says, "I'm suspicious of any organization tries to pit black men against black women and vice versa."
Yeah,
Yes.
that's one of the first things they did when they came to Ferguson. They created that rift. There wasn't a rift before they got there. No one cared about, sexuality, identity, none of that. There was no black girl magic. It was just people coming out, and people getting in where they could fit in, and contrary to uh, just this myth that they put out that, it was just all strong black women, no, brothers were out there. Brothers were out there in numbers, at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, in West Florissant, brothers were out there. It was sisters out there too, but brothers were out there. They got pushed out.
Okay. Well, okay. Now the tone of the police there. Because I know that a lot of real protesters, not show testers and hoe testers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
real protesters got arrested, put to jail, and some of them still in there today, right?
Mm-hmm.
While D. Ray McKesson and them got arrested and got to go home.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then they sent Al Sharpton and Messy Jesse down there.
They sent everybody down here.
So
Whoever they could get.
Explain to me something, because we got a new girl in Black Girl Magic lately named what's the girl name pushing? Oh yeah, when Al Sharpton, well, the brother just brought it up. Thank you, brother, reminding me her name. Is Tamika Mallory a part of BLM?
They have a lot of. Okay, let's put it like this: they're all in collusion. Because she was part of Al Sharpton's network. I don't know if people know that she's like
She
his
following Nan.
protege.
She's Al Sharpton.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all she is.
yeah. So they're all connected. That network, BLM, Benjamin Crump, Sean King, D. Ray. The usual suspects, like the people that pop up all the time.
Well, Cadillac commercials, stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's mighty funny you talking about this guy brought up Tamika Mallory.
Mm-hmm.
And, a couple of weeks ago we had the Queen in the building, Queen Ahmadiyya Shakur. And that's who I brought up to your attention. And you might need to shoot over there because she's got way more followers than I got. But it is okay. I don't worry about the followers. I just worry about getting the truth out. So it doesn't even matter. but she had a brother on her channel, and they were discussing Tamika Mallory's finances. And the video went off, and they put her in jail for, I think,
I'm not
YouTube jail.
surprised.
They put her in YouTube jail for a week. Let's put it like that. But these were tax documents of Tamika Mallory's finances, which I think it was from 2017, with taxable income of $2.5 million. She's saying she's only getting $100,000 from Open Society Foundations. That I don't care if you get $100,000 that Open Society Foundations. That's Soros. So anybody connected with George Soros, I'm staying the hell away from anyway. Yeah.
Definitely. I've had people ask me, like, what's the problem with Soros? And these are people who never research Soros, people who, they just see dollar signs, the same way when Bloomberg ran for president and you saw all of these black Democrats falling over themselves, to sell out, and he was just buying them, just like slaves on the slave block, just buying them left and right. 2 million here, 5 million there, just giving them money, for their organizations or for whatever. You don't see anyone inquiring about that money.
Let me say something to this brother here. He's saying that Mallory has an organization till freedom. She's been around a long time as an activist and like BLM, but actually she fronting too. When you look at those them financial receipts of Tamika Mallory, you know that she's fronting off.
I mean, they're not getting paid like that. Like, money is being funneled to fund all these things that are happening in this whole AstroTurf movement. Look at the synchronized protests, and they've had these around the world. Don't you remember when George Floyd was murdered? You turned on the TV and just everywhere at the same time, people were protesting. That takes money, to do things like that.
Well, I realized one thing about the George Floyd thing, and also with this Deontay Wright thing. I realized one thing with the Deontay Wright in Chicago. No, in Minnesota, he had Chicago head on. But look, as soon as he was, remember they were already getting on Patrisse Cullors the week before, right? As soon as the Deontay Wright thing happened, they already was out there with the placard signs already 2 hours before, later.
Yeah.
And then another thing that got me was they were already, BLM was already on their website saying donate to the Deontay Wright Fund. How you doing today?
They're on it.
Yeah.
I call them the BLM industrial complex.
Yeah,
they got it locked up.
2 hours. Now
they got it locked
up.
up.
Chicago. You were in St. Louis. I went to Chicago. They got buses and 2 of them around the country.
Yeah, they get around.
Yeah, they get
around.
They're
not just catching buses. They're flying in. Al Sharpton flew in on a private jet.
Yeah. That's right. They flying on private jets and they getting vacations in the islands. But I want to ask you a question about Miss Cullors' recent finances of these houses. You knew she was getting around like that, but it just let people know more about her.
I mean, like I said, in 2014, 2015, 2016, there were tens of millions of dollars coming in. Okay, I saw this. And the money wasn't going to the community. It wasn't going to the family. I'm seeing people who were broke, I mean, getting broke off. Rags to riches stories. People becoming these, I don't want to say characters, but just becoming, well, in retrospect, they were characters. They're just wearing a costume. They're putting on a show. It's all performance. But back then people they weren't trying to hear that. Everyone wanted to believe, they wanted to believe that this grassroots movement just popped up, and white people just cared so much, and these corporations and nonprofits, they cared so much. But I mean, even at the same time, the evidence was there. You look at the WikiLeaks, it came out with that. You look at how Hillary responded when she was confronted, by Black Lives Matter. um I mean, and there were so many other women. So, I mean, look at the whole Blue Lives Matter legislation. And we see these things happening, but still we choose to partake in the illusion. And then we wonder why nothing changes.
I got a question for you. A guy said he noticed that Tamika and even Alicia Garza seems they want to attack Samaria Rice or just make it seem as though she is crazy. Your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on it?
I mean, they have no other defense other than to attack the messenger. That's it. It's either do that or produce the tax receipts. They could produce the tax receipts and all of this would go away. The fact that they don't, that I mean, people should look at that. Why wouldn't they? They're working for the people. These donations, they receive them on behalf of the people. Okay, it's not their personal uh, money. It's not for them to do with what they will. They jumped out in front of this protest movement, and they overshadowed a lot of the work that was being done on the ground by real activists. A lot of funds that could have went to support those actions were funneled into their coffers.
You know,
Um,
Mr. CJ was talking to me last week.
mm-hmm,
He talked about those WikiLeaks documents, right?
mm-hmm.
And he also pointed out that D-Ray and others were really federal agents working for the state. But they were trying to front off like activists, but they really COINTELPRO intelligence agents.
Um,
Or transformed into that, better yet.
well, what I can tell you about my research, researching the founders of Black Lives Matter, they've been part of this whole nonprofit industrial complex for years. This was not new for them. Okay, maybe doing it at this level was new for them, but just being part of the whole nonprofit, machine, and how predatory and exploitive that is, like, towards our community. They came out of that, so it shouldn't come as any surprise that they hijacked the movement.
Yep. And now they are Black Lives Matter Incorporated and running over millions of dollars, and they raised 10.6 million.
Well, we don't know who they are. We know who they tell us they are. Because now they're Black Lives Matter Global Network. But in 2014, there was no Black Lives Matter Global Network. And they were still getting money.
Okay. Explain to me the Tory Russell Mike Brown thing here.
The Tory Russell what? You
Tory
faded
Russell
out.
thing when he said they haven't been paying him any money. He
That was
wants
a
$4 million.
post. Uh, I stumbled upon a document online and just doing my research into the money that was coming into Ferguson. And it was a PDF that contained just a list of monies, amounts, who it went to, everything. And up until this time, no one even knew that, any money existed, let alone, the tens of millions that were listed in this document. I made a post about it. Darren shared the post. Actually, he created his own post talking about it. He read it and he knew that, this money was not going into the community, and so he confronted Tory Russell on a post about that. It's one of, I think it was posted a week before he was murdered. And in the post, Tory's first instinct was to lie. He claimed to not know anything about the money, and Darren actually had to press him, to get him to finally admit, okay, money did come in, but I didn't get any of it, And then, of course, shooting the messenger, because I was the person that found, this document online. But I find it interesting that today he's demanding transparency and accountability from Black Lives Matter when he wasn't willing to be transparent or accountable, when called out for the same thing by Darren. And still hasn't.
Okay. Now I want to ask you some questions about um Darren's with is it Darren, it's DeAndre Joshua, I forget the other brother. Man, y'all had a lot of activists that got murdered, just I mean after the thing happened, when they were trying to expose the transgenderism, the LGBT movement that they were pushing, they got exposed and coincidentally I think two or three of them got found in a burning car with a shot. Darren Seals was one. Somebody was hung and I think another one was found in a burning car. So these were they got caught out there by somebody that knew they were trying to expose. I know you said even yourself they tried. I think you said you almost got ran off the road one night or something like that. So
Yeah.
and
I
I feel
mean,
sorry. Go ahead.
you got to understand, St. Louis, this is the murder capital. Anything could be made to look like anything, okay?
Yeah.
And it would just be, oh well, because crime happens here all the time. Lots of mysterious deaths. I mean, just within a short period of time. And if you look at, I mean, just statistically, what are the odds that all of these people connected to the movement, whether you're talking about Skeeta or Darren or Bassem, just dying, under mysterious circumstances, being murdered, assassinated, we don't know. And just the fact that no one has called for a task force. We have a new black mayor. She hasn't called for a task force. She's talking about uh, combining some of the working with the county to combine some of the services, between the city and the county. But they're not talking about a task force. They're not talking about reopening the murder of Mike Brown, that investigation. Or launching an investigation into the murder of Darren Seals. Let alone any of the other activists or any of the other cases of officer involved shootings.
Okay, let me ask you a question about King D Seals. How did you run into the King D Seals? And I know you had a special relationship with him as far as getting bringing this thing to prominence because a lot of people would love what Darren Seals was representing, and he kind of touched me too when I heard how he represented himself and he stood up to him because he always used to post tweets about the
Yeah.
youth going find his page today, and he was exposing them to the fullest back then.
Definitely to the fullest. I met Darren. He responded to one of my posts. I didn't know him before Ferguson. I'd seen him during the protest. He just stood out to me because he had like a silent rage. I mean, you could just see the intensity in him. As he just stood there, he really didn't have to do anything. That's just who he was. But we connected, and just started teaming up. You know, I was able to. I mean, he was pretty much grounded in his truth because he witnessed a lot of this. Okay, he was part of um, that whole little clique. The prominent protesters, the frontliners. He was part of that, and he walked away from it once he recognized it for what it was, and that created, a lot of strife, and a lot of animosity because I mean, at this time, like I said, millions of dollars, had been funneled through Ferguson. People were getting broke off. People were getting makeovers, whole new lives. Um, and people didn't want to give that up. People didn't want to be exposed. Uh, And I mean, man, this is still even difficult to talk about now. Just knowing that nothing's been done. Okay, no investigation, no nothing. I don't think I've really heard them say much about Darren until this request for $20 million. I think it had included. I think they said they were gonna like give some money to the family or something like that.
Okay. Now, for the story I read, he left General Motors and stuff. But what is that organization that Darren? It was another organization that Darren had exposed. It was a white lady running the organization.
That could be any organization.
Yeah, but I can't think of it
Resource
right now.
Generation. You're talking about Resource Generation, the one that raised the money, the $1 million for
Yeah, I
Mike
think that's
Brown's
the one.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of affluent. The org consisted of affluent white kids. Uh, they raised over $1 million uh, for Mike Brown's birthday, and basically just kept all the money. They split it among the people in the orgs that they wanted to give a cut, but nothing to the Brown family, nothing to the movement, nothing to the Ferguson, the community, just nothing. And there were, I mean, that one organization wasn't unique in doing that. I mean, Ferguson was a, a, a org paradise. You know, it was like Disneyland for protesters and activists. The place you come to get your credibility, to launch an org. Because the people who were coming here, they knew about orgs, and they knew how the grift went. So the first thing they did when they got here was set up orgs and use some of the local protesters as the faces of these orgs. And they started soliciting money. I mean, there were a lot of groups here soliciting money. And a lot
Mm.
of these Ferguson groups weren't even from Ferguson. I mean, there were groups calling themselves Ferguson, having Ferguson in their names that were really from New York, and other places.
Yep. Trying to think. Now with Darren, he was very strong willed, but I realized that you miss Brittany Farrell, who I guess is a nurse or whatever. She had put on her Twitter page and thank you for reposting it. I cannot wait through the day we drag Darren's ass through the streets. And she was saying how she couldn't stand black men.
Yeah, she called them trash. She
That's right.
called brothers trash. Yeah, and I remember first seeing that tweet. Like, how are you at the forefront of this movement? You know, uh, and that was allowed. So even back then, we weren't just screaming about the money. We were talking about all the contradictions.
Did now somebody said did Talib Kweli the rapper get any money?
Yeah, he set up a bail fund, and it's pretty much the same thing. He set up a bail fund on Indiegogo, said that he was collecting money for protesters. Protesters are out here; they need our support. They need help with living expenses, and he raised money. I think he raised like maybe 175,000, and just kept the money. He split it among himself and his friends. There's no list of people that he bailed out. And then when called out on it, he had his publicist release just, I mean, a note stating, what they say he did with the money. There was no like canceled check stubs or wire transfer numbers or anything like that. It's just, okay, we gave these people 20,000. We gave them, 5,000. I mean, there was money that was still unaccounted for. And that was all just pretty much swept under the rug.
Hmm.
But he took credit for bailing out Josh. It was Ferguson protesters who bailed him out, and they worked like really hard, to get him out. And then Talib Kweli just, gets on social media and just takes credit for it. And even back then, I believe Tory Russell um, was actually caping for Talib Kweli, saying that people just wanted credit. Yeah, it's not that people wanted credit for what they were doing. People just weren't going to let you take credit for what they were doing, or these outsiders. But Tory, he was down with that. He was part of all of that. So I just have a problem with people who, were complicit. They were part of it. They smeared people, sabotaged people, like the real grassroots activists, and it was all good until the gravy train jumped the track for them. Now they're trying to rebrand themselves as these,
Social
social
justice
justice,
warrior.
yeah, and it's just disgusting.
Um, um, I would like to hear you two speak with Kareem Johnson because he also exposed a lot of these activists. Here, Kareem Johnson, you know who that is?
No, I don't. Tell
Okay,
me.
I don't know. There's this guy in chat. I'm gonna just post the
Okay.
thing, and I have to look it up later. Um,
Okay.
but thank you for the information, Edek, on that. Now with Mr. Seals, because I got a couple of questions to ask. Now, obviously, by him being so outspoken, he also was targeted, and that's how he got caught out. But if he slapped D-Ray, I'm pretty sure they had an animosity to go back and get him sooner or later. Wait.
Well, there were a lot of people um, that had issue with him. Not just D. Ray or the women in Black Lives Matter. There were people within our own movement, that had problems with him. Problems with both of us. Uh, we were targeted. Um, man, it's so much happened. Back during that time. I don't think people fully understand, like I said, because BLM sold them this illusion of what protest was, and it was just basically performance. Meanwhile, on the ground, we got people being shot and set on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them got justice. None of them got justice. You know, and like I said, we have black people in position now. We have a black chief, black public safety director, a black mayor, black county prosecutor, black circuit attorney. The DAs here are black. We have a Black Police Officers Association. And none of them. I mean, they can't work together to get justice for black people. They can't open and investigate these cases.
Yep, you're right about that. Now when it comes to God, there's another person I'm thinking about. Hold on. Um, what's good? What's the girl? Corey Bush. That's it. Corey Bush. Corey Bush. Now she was in
Mm-hmm.
Ferguson too, right?
Yeah, she was in Ferguson.
Okay. So was she part of them, or did she get co-opted?
Um, Corey Bush kind of emerged like there were like cycles, rounds. Like the first round was when you saw the Tory Russells, the Tef Pose, the Alexis, the Nettas, all of them. The second round was when you saw like the Bruce Franks and Rasheen Aldridge's, even though he was there from the start, from the Ferguson Commission. Um, and then after those two groups, had their moments, then came Corey Bush. By that time, the movement was totally fractured. It was fragmented. It was just little groups doing their things. So
Yeah.
she came out of a group of uh, that was backed by white progressives, and by the time she ran against Lacey Clay before and she lost. I don't know if people are aware of that. She ran again against him at one, and by that time, I think people were just. I mean, the anti-incumbent sentiment was so high, and then plus Lacey, he didn't do any, campaigning. I think if he would have at least showed up, he probably could have won. But the fact that he did nothing, and that's pretty much St. Louis politics. I mean, they have these politicians. No one runs against them for the most part, so they win all the time. They keep their seat all the time. That's why I stress to people that these are all Democrats. At the end of the day, they don't even run against each other. Okay. Once
This
they
guy
put
said,
someone in position, that's it.
this guy says Cora Bush is one of the biggest mouths in Congress. She had a lot to say, but at the end of the day, she would toe the party line like voting for Nancy Pelosi to be Speaker of the House again.
Yeah, that's like the first thing she did when she got in there. So that set the tone. I mean, if you go in the door compromising, that's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, what legislation has she passed or gotten passed? And you have to be able to do that. I mean, she's a legislator. That's what they do. That's their job. And she's not doing her job. So we're not being impacted by her being there. She's if she's not going to do the job she was sent there to do, she's just taking up space.
I mean,
You know,
she was
and she doesn't even have to pass bills. Just disrupt what they're trying to do. Be an informant for the people. Let the people know what's going on up there. I mean, that's why people voted her in. They didn't vote her in to be the little Democrat, the good little Democrat. She's supposed to go in there and like I said, disrupt, agitate. Prevent them from doing what they want to do. Throw monkey wrenches. Leverage.
Now, um, so I want to ask you, about when Darren got murdered. What was your first thoughts? I mean, how did it affect you? I know it took a lot to get over that.
Man, we actually he and I had been talking regularly that week. Labor Day weekend was coming up. And we were just talking about some things that were going on in the movement, some things that we were working on, and just trying to take the platform to the next level. This is when he was joining handsupdon'tshoot.com and, STL Hip Hop, and he was about to start his own YouTube platform. And like I said, we were having a lot of conversations. The only thing that was really different at that time in terms of the conversations were the ones we were having about the money and the things that we were posting, and him being very vocal, and in your face and even confrontational, with people about the money. I was just posting like I normally do every day. You follow me, so you see that I post every morning.
Yep.
And I remember seeing the story.
You get up early too.
I remember seeing the story about a body being found, shot and set on fire, but they didn't really have a lot of details. And I remember bookmarking that I was going to circle back to see what was what. And I just continued posting. And someone came in one of my comments of my post and said they killed Darren last night. And I remember reading that comment just over and over and over again, and at the same time thinking, oh my God, he hasn't called me back or text me back, because we would, go back and forth in the mornings, sometimes, because sometimes he would share one of my posts, or he would send me some information that I would post. So during that time we were working on, he was trying to set up an interview for us to do together with, I think it was Irritated Genie. And
Oh wow,
he wanted to know. Huh?
That would have been a good interview.
Yeah, and he was asking me if I wanted to do the interview, and we were talking. That was one of the things we were talking about. I think even the night before, You know,
I think I
well,
heard him on the
earlier,
interview, irritated Genie just before he
yeah,
died. Though.
yeah, he did, and he wanted to go back and bring me on there, and we were going to
Okay.
do the interview together. So, you know, I just noticed like he hasn't called me. I mean, it was so surreal because it's just like you just got thrown and left. You know what I'm saying? Like something just totally out of the blue that you're not expecting, and at first you're kind of like trying to wrap your brain around, you know, this new reality that's being forced upon it. You know, so I just kept reading the words on the screen over and over again. You know, and then by this time there was more information out, you know, the news articles, you know, and it took a while for local news to even like say that he was a Ferguson activist. I don't know if they were afraid to say that or what, you know, but uh, the Washington Post and Huffington Post and, you know, all the major publications and CNN and all of them, they quickly identified him as a member of Black Lives Matter. And we had to like really push back against that, you know, because he wasn't a member of Black Lives Matter. You know, he and I worked to expose Black Lives Matter, you know, and they were trying to just hijack, you know, even his death. You know, they were questioning people like D. Ray, and you know, he had no love for D. Ray, you know, Arnetta, but these are the people that are speaking out.
Hmm. Netta's the one you told me worked at the Sprint store. They went from rags to riches, right?
Oh yeah, she's one of those. I mean, some of them were in school, but it wasn't like, you know, oh, they're in school and they just have these great lives, and it wasn't any of that. I mean, if you live in St. Louis, you already know what the deal is in St. Louis, and even if you have it okay, there's so many people who don't. You know, so you can't just sit comfortably, you know, because you're going to be impacted. I mean, whether you're trying to get it or you're trying to keep it.
Yeah, I do want to thank my friend. Um, I'm glad Chairman Fred came down there to see you when you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they found out very quickly when they went that thing was a co-opted sideshow, something like that.
Yeah, it really got bad.
We even
I
had
mean,
Malik Sulu Shabazz come down there.
man, everyone came here. Everybody came here. I mean, Mike Brown was the George Floyd of that time.
Hmm.
You know, no one ever saw anything like that before. We were the
Um,
spark.
Now about the Mike Brown incident. Can you explain it more? I mean, I've read about it plenty of times, but I know they left his body there in the street for 4 hours. But I'm just trying to find out how did that really go down.
I mean, what I can tell people, and I don't even know if you can find this online anymore, but there was a CNN article that had a video of two white construction workers. It was taken probably seconds after Mike Brown was shot, and they were holding their hands up and saying, "Why did you shoot him?" They were asking Darren Wilson that, and they were holding their hands up the way Mike Brown had his hands up. Okay, these two guys did not testify for the grand jury. They just went completely missing in action. But CNN did a story about these two white construction workers. I mean, that tells the story right there. He had his hands up. Um, it wasn't even just that they left him in the street like a dog. You know, it's the fact that they like purposely discredited him. You know, they tried to make his life seem, you know, unworthy. You know, they released a video showing that they said depicted a strong arm robbery. I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah, I
where he
remember that.
was, yeah, the photo with the store owner. You know, but that photo was part of an actual video, and there was a whole story behind that that came out in the what was it called? Strange Fruit. documentary, where they talked about Mike Brown exchanging weed for cigarillos. And so he exchanged weed for cigarillos with the clerks and left the cigarillos there and went back to retrieve them. Now, this is not speculation. This was all actually captured on video, but they didn't release that video. Like, no one ever saw that video until years after Ferguson.
You want to know something? That's mighty funny because even with this George Floyd Chauvin case,
Mm-hmm.
by the third day I already knew what had happened. I mean, they had maybe about a week because George Floyd actually asked to get out the car and be put on the ground. There's a video out there that you can find that. That's not my issue. The issue is why is Cup Food Store still open when this was a front for drugs and human trafficking, which it already was.
See?
Which I went to check up on Cut Foods and what they were doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nobody from that Cut Food store was there to testify, and I don't think in the Mike Brown case, nobody from that store was made to testify either.
No, I mean, all of this was done
They
in
never
secret.
start with the beginning. They don't show all the evidence.
No, that's most people don't even know the beginning of this story. They think Black Lives Matter is 90 million, that is in dispute, that they made last year. That's the extent of what they think this is all about. And whether or not Patrisse Cullors, a black woman, can make money, for her family. That's what they think this is about. They have no idea about, Ferguson, the hijacking of Ferguson, Darren Seals. You have to remember a lot of these younger protesters, let's say they're 21 right now, how old were they when Ferguson happened? 14, 15?
Yeah.
So a lot of them, that's history, to them. They're not aware of any of this. They're just coming in right now, and their frame of reference is like George Floyd.
Well, wasn't it somebody you say that got paid $750 for doing something?
Oh, that was Netta and Dream Hampton got into it on Twitter. People may know Dream Hampton. I'm trying to think of the last big thing she did. I think she did the Lifetime R. Kelly story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's her. But yeah, she tweeted that she paid Netta $750 to snatch the mic from Al Sharpton.
Wow.
And that actually happened. I don't know if they scrubbed it from the internet, but she did snatch the mic from Al Sharpton. We just didn't know that Dream Hampton gave her $750 to do it.
That's interesting. Now there was another. Let me see who else was down there. I know they saying Eric Holder that. I'm trying to think of because it was something that happened. I know that Black Lives Matter that year was meant to try to influence the election. After the election of Trump, they just stopped. They just went away for a long time. Like they were still out, but they weren't like out. They won't look over the cameras anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me they always come out during election years, kind of.
Well, yeah, they have to galvanize the black vote. They have to. They use fear tactics. They use a lot of different tactics to get black people to the polls. Stroll to the poll. What's the other one? The stripper video. I mean, there is no shame. No shame. What was the stripper commercial?
Oh,
Come
that
on,
was
somebody in your chat.
Get your booty to the bowl.
Yeah. See. And then they had the black Greeks do the stroll to the polls. I mean, it's all about voting with Democrats. That's it. That's their only issue. Especially black Democrats. That's it. Voting. voter suppression, voter intimidation. It's always about the vote. And I don't understand it, why black people are so pressed all the time, because they get nothing in exchange for their vote. And to hear people say not just that your ancestors died for your right to vote, but even, well, why would they try so hard to keep us from voting if it didn't matter? To keep you from doing things that do matter. As long as you think there is value, in that system, you're going to keep trying, you're going to keep participating, and even trying to reform that. You're not going to, break away and build your own. You're not going to do that. That's how they keep you engaged, by just saying, dangling the vote carrot, and we want that carrot so bad. So we're not going to do anything else but chase that carrot.
You want to know something though? You want to know something though? Yoda, seriously though,
What?
I will say in this election that changed a little bit because you got people claiming they voted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at a voter participation sheet, it was like 26% of black people had only registered at a point in time. And actually, a lot of people in a lot of states, they had the lowest voter participation on blacks since 2006. As a matter of
No,
fact, I think,
it's the older blacks.
yeah,
It's they're the ones. The younger blacks are, they're not down with this, and I think this is going to be the first time where they don't have the younger black vote coming to replace, the older blacks that are dying off.
that's a good thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I was telling a friend of mine, um, I had even researched. I said, wait a minute. Most young black people I talk to, they either say they're voting for Donald Trump or they're not voting. So I said that I already know what's up. But see, when you claim that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But common sense can tell you, you got to vote the duty to represent those who put you in office, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I always tell people, if you claim you put them in office, they're doing it for most of the time look like they're doing it for illegals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. That's who really put them in office. Them and the LGBTQ. Wasn't you? You're just a front man running cover for their little fraudulent scheme. You're just a front man. But you happen to be that front man because you think you're getting something, but the agents getting legislation and everybody else. And matter of fact, you know the sad thing about agents?
What?
31% of them voted for Donald Trump, and they actually get more than you get. That's the funny part.
Everyone gets more than we get. Because anytime you just, well, I'm gonna tell you this off top. I don't trust the vote, the electoral process. I don't trust any of
Yeah,
that
I don't. I either.
because I've seen them. I know what they do. So with that said, but even to play the little game, you know what I'm saying? We just, I mean, if you don't leverage what you have, in the before they get in there, by the time they're in there, they're in there. They're not going to do anything for you while they're in there. But see, they need us, uh,
To be a buffer.
yeah, to be a buffer and to, they need black bodies standing in line, waiting to vote. That's why, they have so few machines. So they could give this illusion of, look at all these black people out here standing and waiting to vote.
Yeah.
Every, like here in St. Louis, they always say we have record turnout. I don't know how, because people are fleeing, in droves. Like where are these new people coming in? They're always talking about registering, new voters. Where are these people? Because I don't see all these people moving into the region. And the people here who want to vote, they're already registered to vote. So where are all these new voters coming from? That's what I want to know.
Let me tell you something. St. Louis, Detroit, Michigan, New York City. It's three other states. Their populations are declining like with the quickness. People are moving out of those places,
Mm-hmm.
so they ain't got no new voters coming in. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Exactly.
New York. I mean, parts of New York is probably like a ghost town. You either got people homeless on the street or not even living there anymore because they tired of all the liberal bullshit. Okay, Detroit, Michigan, daggone, they had over 1 million people in the population one time. They got down to almost 700,000 people one time recently. A lot of people have left that city. So, even parts of Chicago, people are leaving. So, St. Louis, Missouri, like you said. Speaking of St. Louis, Missouri, California too, brother. That's right, California. A lot of people leaving too. That's another place. Yeah, but what's the daggone organization that was in Missouri? It was called. They got $5,000 to protest. Was it More or More? Was it?
More was part of that. You talking about the cut the check?
Yeah.
Millennials. Yeah, it was. It was. So, like I told you, some of the white orgs that were using the young black Ferguson protesters as the black faces. They were getting the money. Protesters were doing the work.
That's right. Now, is this the same? No, that's Mississippi. I thought Benny Thompson was down there. No, that's not. That's Benny Thompson, Mississippi. Sorry, wrong state. But I do understand your what I call your drive, and I'm almost glad that you are able to um get to come and get your word out because I appreciate your courage. The brother says Stacey Abrams from his home state of Georgia. She is a compromise of pure and simple, especially as a state house rep. Stacey Abrams is a piece of shit. That's what she is. She's a with all due respect, sister, Stacey Abrams is a Democratic bed wench. That's all she is. So, I don't even waste my time listening to Stacey Abrams. I mean, she didn't. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and she's in a long line of other bed wenches. As a matter of fact, somebody was thinking about you this weekend. Miss Nyota, because we had a person who was actually from Missouri make a lot of sense out there in Minnesota. Her name is Maxine Waters. Because Maxine Waters grew up in Missouri, or it was born there.
Yes. Her sister died in a nursing home here of COVID.
Yep. I know. Your thoughts on Miss Maxine?
I think her time has come and gone. I think that there should be term limits. I don't believe in career politicians. I don't believe that just because you know how to, manipulate the system to get yourself reelected over and over again means that you should be allowed to do that. Right now, I mean, Derek Chauvin, I mean, he has a good chance for appeal. Democrats are downplaying this, but I mean, even the judge said it. The judge made it part of the official record. Okay, so, he has a good chance as appeal. Not just at that, I think even with the charges he was convicted of, because how do you convict someone of murder and manslaughter?
You can't do both.
And they convicted him of both. So he has a good chance for appeal. I mean, think about it. In 2 or 3 years, this will be a distant memory, and we'll be talking about the next George Floyd. Because we thought change was going to come after Mike Brown. Change didn't come after Mike Brown. Or Eric Gardner or Tamir Rice. I can name so many. Even after George Floyd, what's changed?
Well, this is what I'll say about Maxine Waters. I mean, like I said, she presided over the place in '91 when Rodney King was beaten, and she, didn't do anything about that. She says, well, yes, you're right. John Lewis, one of your reps, side to say that he didn't do shit for black people.
I mean, but I'm asking you, what has she done different?
Oh, she hadn't done anything.
Whatever scenario you ask, or you produce, what has changed? Nothing's changed.
Well, like I said, I didn't have a problem with the statement she said. I just said that, she's marching at the behest of Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi told you that George Floyd was a blood sacrifice for the most part. That's the funny thing I said about her. So when Nancy Pelosi tell Maxine Waters to go out and play, she goes out and plays.
Yeah, she went out there. She went out there.
Yeah, because Nancy Pelosi ain't gonna do it. They're gonna send that Maxine Waters to do it. Whatever Nancy Pelosi says, that's where she goes. Because when Nancy Pelosi told them Negroes up there, John Lewis included, don't you go help Cynthia McKinney after that Hurricane Trina thing, they sent Cynthia McKinney out there to die by herself. That's what them Negroes did. That was back in 2005 or in 2006. They didn't want the Democrats to lose the House. When Nancy Pelosi ain't speaker, they at least try to act like they get something done. When Nancy Pelosi is speaker, they just sit on their hands and feet. They don't even try to represent like they're doing them black people when Nancy Pelosi speaker. They just say, the hell with this thing. But I will say that Nancy, Maxine, I just said that when I saw that, a brother in Chicago had already told me about this thing that happened in Chicago, Rakir Board and others. And he had explained to me that just before the trial happens, BLM or a politician will come out and say something. Either they're going to hijack the jury or they're going to make the case good for appeal. And what he did does throw the case up in disarray because he could call it mob justice. They could just throw the damn thing out. Or
exactly. And people may remember.
Biden too, because you can't really, because that's politicizing the issue. You got too much other factors in there. So, in all honesty, me personally, Derek Chauvin should be he shouldn't even got to try. He should have been on his back already. But if you're gonna do it, let the process play out and don't bring the politics in it, because that's how you get a situation where the judge can even say something.
You're right.
And I don't want the judge to say that, because you got 8 long weeks to wait, right? And they might do this under the cover of darkness, do the appeal, might not even put it on the news, because just this week, while that was going on, they voted on a bill in the Senate 94-6 for debate. And then they passed the bill for the Anti-Asian Hate Crime Act 94-1. Then while that's going on, Amber Geiger appeal is due next week.
See? And I think Dylan Roof, isn't he filing an appeal?
I gotta look at that.
I thought I saw something.
I don't know what type of appeal Dylan Roof can file though, but if he does, hey, it is what it is. They about to remove the federal death penalty, so what? It is what it is. So brother said it will be overturned. He said only the years changed. The Come Bring Cash caucus has done nothing but change their clothes when it comes to black people. Or you might be talking about the Kendrick clothes. But this brother said, Cynthia McKinney, one of my reps, said one time also I've had 3 different Congress people due to redistricting. So I do want to ask you a couple more questions about St. Louis. So as we talked about child murders, and we also wanted to talk about the thing that happened at the jail when Kim Gardner, Attorney General Kim Gardner, another Soros paid puppet.
She's the circuit attorney, like the DA. She ran on reform, but she's out of the same system that we've been fighting already. And her form of reform is it's just really not doing anything. It's just slowing the system like completely down. That was the catalyst for the jail rioting you're seeing right now. People are being held like up to a year before they even get a chance to go to court. And she just has them there. Like she's just slowing it down, and keeping people, locked up, while at the same time, saying reform. This is reform. She's also not arresting. Well, I'm not going to say arrest. She's not prosecuting, murders. Right now we already have like the most murders in like 50 years, and nothing's happening. You know, people are not being charged. So there's like people walking around who've murdered people and they continue to murder people, you know, and nothing's happening. There have been cases that have been dismissed on the eve of trial. You know, there's always an excuse. There's always, oh, well, the system is racist, you know, but you have to look at who's running the system, because the system is people, you know, and the people that are running the system now, we have a black mayor. We have a black police chief, a black public safety director, a black circuit attorney, a black county prosecutor, a black president of the board of aldermen. You know, we have a whole black police officers association. I mean, what is their purpose? You know, if it's not to protect and serve black people, provide
Somebody
justice
asked
to
a
black people.
question in the chat. Who is Melina Abdullah and what does she have to do with BLM? Melina Abdullah is a professor, a Marxist professor at, I think, one of them California colleges.
Yeah,
Um,
she's the founder of BLM So
yeah.
she runs it. Yeah, I met her during Ferguson, and actually her father, John Ryman, was one of my day one supporters. I didn't know that was her father. I had no idea that was her father until months and months later. You know, we had a conversation, and he mentioned that that was his daughter. And this was when BLM was just really becoming known. They weren't big the way they're big now. But yeah, her father was one of my bigger supporters, and uh, I had to do a story, you know, about the co-option, BLM co-opting the movement for justice for Ezell Ford, and that's kind of where uh, we just went our separate ways. You know, he felt that, you know, I owed her, um, I guess, you know, the my platform, or to I should talk to her. I sat and watched these people. You know, I there is nothing they can say to me. See, it's different when you weren't there and you didn't see it go down. Then, I mean, you can grapple with, you know, whether or not you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I watched this. I witnessed this. I know how they move. You know, it's all very intentional. Everything orchestrated.
A friend of
So
mine
no, I
says
don't give them the benefit of the doubt.
black on black crime is done to us by the bootlickers.
Yeah.
We
The
got a whole
question
lot of.
is, you know, we have these conversations all the time. What are we going to do about it?
You're
You know,
right.
that's where we need to be right now. What are we going to do about this? We know what the problem is. We know who the sellouts and grifters are. We know the game that they're playing, and they've been playing since Ferguson. Okay, so now what are we going to do about this?
That's right.
You know,
Well,
that's where we need to be. And I'm not really feeling like a sense of urgency for people. You know, people just feel like we have all the time in the world. You know, and we don't. We're on borrowed time as is.
that's right. Well, I tell you what. On that, I will say this: one of the solutions is you got to expose and you got to get notoriety and you got to get these fools away from the camera. You got to just like they did. They paid us $750. You can't let them get on camera. You got to start that mic. It's more you expose police. The only problem with exposing Patrisse Cullors, she got her Twitter friends in the back, just like D. Ray McKesson is. So you just like I said, I'm just gonna bring you my thing, and I was explaining this to
Mm-hmm.
friends of mine over the last week. These people, like Mallory, doesn't matter. Mallory, the entire Congressional Black Caucus, all I care from anybody. Mallory, yeah, Melina Abdullah, um, doesn't matter. All of them, all these BLM idiots, Corey,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, because at the end of the day, BLM is 11 white people to every one or two black people, and usually most of them are women out there anyway. So that's another problem. So it's really a white led movement, and they just got some black faces in the front.
Right.
My thing is to say, don't give these people no platform. Don't let them speak at your church. Extricate them and get them out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't got to kill them, but they got to get out your way. And if they get in the way, hey, there's a law that they passed in one of these states that said if you block a highway, you can you can ride over a motorist. You can be a motorist and ride over them. If they blocking the highway, and he won't face no liability because in a protest. I'm not saying do that, but we got to ride through these people, and we got to just say, look, you're not even welcome to come around us. You are dangerous. We got to treat them like they're almost like a terrorist around us because what they're doing is putting us in more grave danger.
They are, and they're setting us back.
Well,
They are
yeah,
setting us back. Yeah.
and then when you provide communications for Antifa and these other entities that you bring along with you, you actually really put because the majority of people that's gotten killed in the protests are black people unsuspectedly. you know,
Yes.
that's the part because they don't know what they're out there for, and they get hurt. Yeah. So, and then also a lot of young, well, not activists, but people that are just out there, they're
Mm-hmm.
just riding the wave. They end up getting arrested, and they don't even know what they got arrested for. They think they're protesting, but they're really serving their agenda, and these people don't bail you out either.
No, they don't bail you out. And a lot of these state legislatures are passing all types of laws, like punishments, and they're going to start attacking entitlements, food stamps, things like that, grants, student loans.
Minnesota passed a bill like that.
See?
They said if you protest and you get caught in Minnesota, you will lose your college student loan.
Mm-hmm.
Either they pass it or they're gonna pass it. It's gonna pass.
Oh, it's going to pass because the Republicans control the state legislatures. They control more than the Democrats.
Yeah, that's another problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that we have to like be vigilant. We have to watch what's going on because and we got to make moves. I'm glad that you were able to come on and bring your knowledge of the situation, and we're gonna keep in contact because like I said, we could go on and on because you got so much information on BLM. You post up on them every morning.
Yeah, this is just the intro right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta, because next time, hopefully you can bring some documents because you got receipts, receipts, and receipts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lady that's watching. They call her the queen of receipts. But I will also I think that day we and you talked, and I'm gonna even send this interview to the judge. Let me send this interview to the judge. This is gonna be pretty good. But I do want you to stay vigilant. I know that you were trying to, as I would say, kind of like keep a low profile of everything that's gone over the years. I'm glad you came back and did an interview and other things because people like you we need to hear, but we also need to make sure that you protect it, and also as well. I want people to subscribe to her website of AltBlackNews.com. I don't even need Cash App, sister. But that's okay. Don't we'll find another way. Um, you ain't gotta tell it to me right now. Well, yeah, you got a Cash App or something? You hear me? Hello? Man, every time you gonna get up good, something goes on. Oh man, here we go again. We ain't done yet. Yeah, I don't know what
Man, I'm telling you, they don't want this interview to happen.
But look, hey, look, we can keep it going. I just wanted to say that I would tell people I want people to subscribe to your website at altblacknews.com.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta keep you. I mean, I'm glad you came on, and I want you gotta for people like you that got the information and got the receipts. We got to make sure you protect it, and I got to find some way for these followers of mine, hopefully to. What you got to GoFundMe or Cash App or something?
The Cash App is Alt Black Media, AltBlackmedia, and basically that's the movement to build our own media, social media platforms, tech apps, all that stuff. Because we have to be able to control, the narratives and the conversations, as well as the communication. you know
Okay.
um so All Black News is a start, because so many black content creators are being shadow banned. A lot of them are putting out really good information and analysis, and no one is seeing it because they're either getting deplatformed or their videos or podcasts are being shadow banned and no one is able to see them. So what All Black News is, it's a centralized location for these voices, but I mean, there's so much more we have to do, because we have to build like the infrastructure, which is, servers. We have to worry about bandwidth, creating apps, just all kinds of things, that go along with this, because these are things that we need, because we're not going to be able to build on Facebook or Twitter. What happens when they kick us all off? Then what are we going to do?
Well, it's mighty funny you're saying that because I'm glad you brought that up. It's a document. They had a thing in the Congress last week where they were actually telling Facebook and Twitter and these companies how can you shut down people who they consider to be anti-vaxxers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But don't think that conversation is just directed toward anti-vaxxers. That's really
They
early.
did this. They were doing this with protesters doing Ferguson. I got terminated. CJ Sullivan got kicked off of Twitter for exposing D-Ray. Uh, they are already doing this stuff. It's just going to become more. Uh, they're just going to do it more once they decide that this is up. I mean, they can destroy this movement. I mean, what happens if tomorrow we wake up and all of us have been deplatformed from these social media platforms? And they could do that. Look at what they did to Alex Jones. And
Yep.
people cheered that. They cheered what they did to Trump. If they can censor the president of the United States, I mean, they can censor us. So we building our own is a must.
Yep. If yeah. Let me say something here. About that. And I just want to, because I do want to, because like I said, I always have, followed you and stuff, and I thank you, and I want to give you, it's what my brother, Real BTV, Ron Hurd says, amplify blessings, and thank my website is also kingbjmedia.com. So, I always send you stuff. You always send me stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know what the thing is going on, but we gotta have to amplify this message. So thanks for embedding it in your post. I'm sorry I had your name wrong up there, but I do want to thank you for coming on, and I just want to
Man,
say be
thank.
blessed and come on back next time, and I'm gonna give it to the Queen of Receipts and stuff, and we're gonna keep it going.
Oh wow!
Um,
I mean, people got to understand it's like 7 years. This isn't just $90 million last year. This goes all the way back to the day Mike Brown was murdered.
okay.
And a lot of people, they don't even know how we got from there to George Floyd.
Yeah, well,
Most of this story has not been told.
okay. Well, I just want to say I want to thank you. I appreciate you. I want you to keep pushing. Don't be scared to get your message out. And I'm gonna, keep on trying to get it out myself. So take your time. Bless you. Have a good night.
You too. And thanks for having me.
No problem. Take care.